Welcome to Quick MCAT Lessons, where I try to explain MCAT topics in 10 minutes or less. Today we're talking about the fetal cardiovascular system. So why is fetal circulation different? Well, the fetus doesn't use its lungs or liver in the same way an adult does, because their lungs are non-functional, so oxygenation happens via the placenta, and nutrient and waste exchange also occurs in the placenta. So to bypass these underdeveloped organs, the fetal circulation uses three major shunts. Now, the first shunt it uses is called ductus venosus. This bypasses the liver and it shunts oxygenated blood from the umbilical vein to the inferior vena cava. The second shunt is the foramen ovale, and this bypasses the right ventricle and pulmonary circulation, as there's a hole between the right and left atria. So it sends blood directly from the right to left atria, and from the left atria it can go to the body. It can do this because it gets oxygenated blood from the pulmonary veins. Finally, we have the ductus arteriosus. This bypasses the lungs and it connects the pulmonary artery to the aorta, so blood goes directly into systemic circulation. Just remember that all fetal shunts are designed to reroute blood away from the lungs and liver, and this is because these organs are not really fully functional until after birth. Now we have umbilical vessels. We have the umbilical vein and the umbilical arteries. The umbilical vein carries oxygenated blood from the placenta to the fetus, and umbilical arteries carry deoxygenated blood from fetus to placenta. There are also two arteries and only one vein. And this is the opposite of adult circulation, where the vein carries oxygenated blood and the arteries carry deoxygenated blood. Moving on to fetal hemoglobin. So fetal blood contains fetal hemoglobin, which is annotated as HbF. This has a higher affinity for oxygen than adult hemoglobin, which is HbA. This allows the fetus to efficiently extract oxygen from maternal blood across the placenta, even though the partial pressure of oxygen in placental blood is lower than in adult lungs. And a key reason for this high affinity is that the fetal hemoglobin binds 2,3-BPG less efficiently than the adult hemoglobin does. And recall that 2,3-BPG produces a right shift in the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve, and it promotes oxygen release by lowering hemoglobin's affinity for oxygen. So its reduced interaction with fetal hemoglobin helps maintain a left-shifted dissociation curve and enhances oxygen uptake by fetal tissues. After birth, the lungs inflate. This decreases resistance in the pulmonary circulation, and your left atrial pressure increases. This causes the foramen ovale to close, and your ductus arteriosus constricts in response to increased oxygen, and it causes a prostaglandin breakdown. Your ductus venosus also closes as your liver takes over filtration. These closures eventually become, so the foramen ovale becomes a fossa ovalis, the ductus arteriosus becomes a ligamentum arteriosum, and the ductus venosum becomes the ligamentum venosum. And you can find all these on a map, or a diagram, I guess, of the heart. So a really quick recap: fetal circulation avoids the lungs and liver using three shunts: ductus venosus, foramen ovale, and ductus arteriosus. Oxygenated blood comes from the placenta via the umbilical vein. Umbilical arteries carry deoxygenated blood back to the placenta. Fetal hemoglobin has a higher oxygen affinity due to reduced 2,3-BPG binding. At birth, these shunts close to establish normal circulation. That's it for today. In the next episode, we'll talk about ion channels.